Welcome to CTV.
Bueno, buenas tardes, bienvenidos a CTV. ¿Cómo está María Luisa Aguilar García? Bienvenida María Luisa Aguilar García, nos está viendo.
This is November 8th. This is the post-election show. Election was last night. I had hoped myself personally, this being advocacy journalism, my advocacy is often my anti-Trumpism, because Trump is a divider, not a uniter, and he's a dangerous man. Trump is a kind of guy who comes from a very criminal background, actually. The family hid their money from the tax man illegally. They laundered a lot of their money through fake corporations in order to pass on the fortune to little baby brat Trump, as many as from the time of Thor, $200,000 a year, so that taxes owed wouldn't be paid. The dad had a kind of racket where he received subsidies from the U.S. government to build housing for poor people, and then somehow poor people never ended up living in those places, and he got more money that way. It's just an amazing background. Basically, a guy who emerged on the scene in New York City, 30 years ago or more, and was claiming to be a self-made man, and he was giving people tours of his businesses, the stuff that he had created. What an amazing guy he is. Actually, those were his dad's businesses. And people really weren't looking very closely at this weird figure, Donald Trump, who became a kind of very strange celebrity. And the guy lies all the time. He wakes up in the morning and says, well, what big, fat, beautiful lie can I tell today that will help me politically? And basically, he tells, he's built a niche for himself where it seems that he tells a lot of downtrodden, I think largely because of Republican policies for the last couple generations, downtrodden American white people that their problems are minorities and the liberals, and it doesn't matter that he's actually being factually true, and he tells people, the things that they want to hear that helps to cultivate their prejudices and their hatreds, and it helps to make it normalized and helps them to feel good about these things. And that's how he won election, and he knows it. And so he's not really concerned with the truth. And a lot of his supporters say, well, this is something that I've read a couple times. People who support him have said, well, he tells a deeper truth. They know that he's not, great on the specifics that are truth, but he has the deeper truth. Deeper truth is that he talks to them about their fears, their hatreds, their prejudices, and this is how he's been gaining power. And he knows this, and that's why he's continually willing to stretch the limits of how he continues to gain power. 3 days ago, I heard a guy on NPR, I forget the guy's name, but he's written a book recently. He's some journalist that we've probably all heard of at some point. But anyway, he says, I think we're really in a very dangerous situation, and the future looks bad. The future actually looks like fascism. Unless Trump loses the election in 2 years, that could be it. The story of the future in the United States could be a grim one. Something you may not be aware of is that Trump is positioning himself also for war in the Far East. There's what I have to say is some kind of a propaganda channel that takes actual news stories that concern themselves with the artificial islands that China has created and the whole area of ocean between Indonesia and Malaysia and Taiwan and China and Vietnam and the Philippines, the South China Sea, where China has actually claimed that and claims that no other military has the right to send forces in there. So Trump is, of course, sending 3 aircraft carriers at a time, plus their protective fleets around them, and overflights of B-52s surrounded by as many as 30 fighters right through this area a few miles from these islands. And he's really upping the tension because that helps, he thinks that helps him too. At some point, he might want to have a war in order to keep things together for himself politically. It's all about Trump. It's not about the United States. It's not ultimately about the American people. Trump is very self-centered, although he's perhaps not intelligent enough to realize that. So all in all, an extremely dangerous person. And we just had an election, and it did not go as well as I would hope from my perspective, in that the Republicans, who are becoming more and more the party of Trump, kind of in a way like the Nazis were the party of Hitler. I mean, if you're not a Trumper, then you're out. In fact, at his press conference today, the morning after the midterm election, Trump was crowing about the fact that he had kicked Senator Flake, out of the Senate. It was like, you're out of here, you're fired, And he said, well, I'm not going to call it what I would call it, but let's just say he went away and I made him go away. So if you're not a Trumper, you're not a Republican. Just the way, if you weren't a follower of Hitler, you weren't going to be a National Socialist. So very scary times. And what's even scarier is, yeah, there's lots of stuff on the internet about war is coming. It's not in our major media, but there's hundreds of videos by this thing called YouTube Mania, which seems to be connected to the US military. And I'm sure it's the very right-wing parts of the US military. And they really do seem to be preparing for war. And it's all this sort of glorious music, B-52s, B-2 bombers, and then, glorious music and, our brave heroes marching around and little snippets of reports from Australia and New Zealand and British news people about the actual politics of what's going on. But mostly, it's just cinema verite of this military activity and these exercises and these and then Chinese parades and the new Chinese aircraft carrier, and then there's scary music. And this is called breaking news. It's called breaking news. And they have hundreds of videos, like I said. And there's also something, and it's on something more overarching that's called YouTube. It's like you as in YouTube, and it looks like YouTube.
Marco, but we had to talk
Mania.
about the elections.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about the elections. So, the elections, okay. Pablo, what do you want to say about the elections? And I'll say what I want to say about the elections.
We won! Victory! Victory, Marco. Victory.
Well, it's better than...
We have a governor that's a Democrat.
Well, that was good.
We have a attorney general from the state. That's,
yes.
Winnie Brinks from
yes.
the Senate. Other people also won, and that's very remarkable to me, isn't it?
Yeah, but you have to remember that they still retain, the Republicans in Michigan retain the legislature. But the legislature can be vetoed by the governor. So it's a victory in Michigan. In the country, well, and that same thing happened in Wisconsin. I don't know that it was as sweeping, but they're...
Walker, one of the most nefarious governors, is gone.
Their Republican Walker is gone, yes.
The Democrats took the control of the House of Representatives.
Oh,
which is
that's good. Well, yes, here in the United States as a whole, yes.
Remarkable.
But the Senate became more Republican. They gained, I believe, 3 senators.
Yeah,
and
that's a problem. But
that means that he won't be impeachable. So he'll be impeachable, and I really think that would be a great thing to have him impeached, even though we might have to wait another 2 years before he could actually be convicted in the Senate. I think this is, okay, getting back to my thing, this guy is surrounded by people who are corrupt and are criminals, and they're indicted. However, Jeff
Sessions resigned.
He resigned.
The Attorney General resigned.
I'm sure he resigned because Trump made him go away.
Trumpy make him to resign.
Yes. So he made him go away just the way he made Flake go away. But I think that's because he's going to fire Mueller. So he made the statement several times today that I could fire Mueller and end this charade witch hunt anytime, but I haven't wanted to. But one thing about it is that people say that he wanted Jeff Sessions to do it, and he considered firing Jeff Sessions for the last 2 years because Sessions would not do that. So he's looking for someone who will do that because he still doesn't want to do it himself. That'd be too politically damaging, he thinks.
Well, but it's good news, Mark. Good news, very good news. Very good news. Women are participating. Several representatives from the House of Representatives are women, Native Americans, LGBT.
Two, yes. First Native Americans, let her know. Well, no, not first Native Americans. First Native American women representatives.
Representative from New York, Nicasio. She's Latina. She's Latina. She's the youngest congresswoman in history. She's 29, I think. So she's the youngest Latina in Congress representative in the country. So this is amazing. This is very healthy. This is very. It makes me happy. It makes me happy, Mark. This is happening, you know.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good to win the House of Representatives from a party that has gone so crazy with a president that is leading them toward fascism. So yeah, that's good. But I am very afraid of his fascistic talk because it's Trump's fascistic talk is very successful for him. People are saying what he conducted in the past 2 weeks was a very powerful and effective white backlash campaign, you know, supporting his people in the Senate and, you know, to a lesser degree in the House of Representatives. Was it successful? But that's what he does, and it's very successful for him. And that's a scary thing. Another thing is he's using the military. And you can actually find on YouTube Mania breaking news covering U.S. Army deployed at the border, you know, and they have some news reports and then more of this inspiring music showing American trucks with soldiers moving to the border region, getting ready for the invasion. And another guy on the internet that I saw who does not like Trump at all, and it's hard to say if he's a leftist or a libertarian or whatever he is, but he calls himself Florida Maquis, and you never see him. But so anyway, he says, well, if this is an invasion, it's the first invasion by a horde of people wearing tank tops and flip-flops. And being confronted by troops armed with water bottles and hospital tents. So it's not what Trump says, but Trump can create the kind of thing that, I mean, with his big mouth, he can create a lot of problems. And I do have a roll-in that we're going to get into in just another minute or so here where Trump, among the other things he says, and this is about 10 to get...
Well, don't worry, Mark. Don't worry. This is hopeful, what happened yesterday.
It is hopeful. I know it's hopeful.
Know,
but it's not as hopeful as it could be. And
well, we have a fascist pig in the White House, but I mean, people is like already like organizing, voting participating in the political process, and this is hopeful, Mark. It's
That-
very
That is hopeful.
you know.
But tonight, rather than just celebrating a lot, I'm going to share my worries about this guy and what's happened to probably the majority of white people in the United States, unfortunately, strangely enough. Woo, how weird. But
What?
the majority of white people in the US,
Yes.
given the whole population, are actually the base of Trump's support. That's his support. So most white people have lost their mind in the United States. Crazy, and especially white guys. They're really now off the rocker, a lot of them. And so Trump says crazy stuff, and since he's the president, and he's telling them things that match up with their, what used to be more subterranean, more not on the surface prejudices and hates, now they're coming to the surface, and Trump benefits from that. Now, one thing he said was, if rocks are thrown by this horde invading the United States, that the military is now arming against this invasion and they're going to be down there, if any rocks are thrown, then the military is going to open fire.
That's ridiculous, Mark. That's ridiculous.
But it can cause what he's saying. I don't really think he wakes up in the morning and he's like a loose cannon on the deck of a ship that will, explode. And it's not going to be to the benefit of the ship. But he can cause all sorts of harm by saying that because he's the commander. So he could. So anyway, that's the kind of thing that he can do, and he generates support for himself by doing that. So if we could go into that, we'll come back and talk about just how bizarre and evil
don't worry,
Trump
Mark.
is.
Don't worry. People is organizing right now. We are here and we are not afraid.
Well, here is some of the evil creature himself, who is unfortunately president of the United States, and to that extent deserves respect for his constitutional position. But we need to get him out of there constitutionally as soon as possible. And this is why.
Chumpy?
Yes.
Chumpy.
Donald
Chumpy.
Okay. Are we ready? Let's go with that. Yeah.
What's going on?
Southern border is a big problem, and it's a tremendous
turn it up now,
problem for
because now
drugs
we can't
pouring
hear
in
it.
and destroying our youth and really
Get down,
destroying
Frank.
the fabric of our country. There's
You
never
turn
been
it
a
up.
drug problem like we have
Frank.
today. And as I said,
Frank.
much of it comes from the southern border. So,
Frank, we can't hear it.
in the meantime, I will fulfill my sacred obligation to protect our country and defend the United
That's too
States of
loud.
America. And this is a defense of our country. We have no choice.
All right.
We have no choice. We will defend our borders. We will defend our country. Thank you very much.
What happens to the children then? If you're impacted on these, what happens to those children? Do they stay in?
We're working on a system where they stay together, but I will say that by doing that, tremendous numbers, under the Obama plan, you could separate children. They never did anything about that. Nobody talks about that. But under President Obama, they separated children from the parents. We actually put it so that that didn't happen. But what happens when you do that is you get tremendous numbers of people coming. It's almost like an incentive to, when they hear they're not going to be separated, they come many, many times over. But President Obama separated the children from the parents and nobody complained. When we continued the exact same law, this country went crazy. So we are going to continue and try to continue what we're doing. But it is a tremendous incentive for people to try. But it's going to be very, very hard for people to come into our country. So we think we'll be able to do that.
How do you plan to? Is that firing upon any of these people? Could you see?
I hope not. I hope it's the military. I hope there won't be that. But I will tell you this, anybody throwing stones, rocks, like they did to Mexico and the Mexican military, Mexican police, where they badly hurt police and soldiers of Mexico, we will consider that a firearm. Because there's not much difference when you get hit in the face with a rock, which, as you know, it was very violent a few days ago, very, very violent. That break-in, it was a break-in of a country. They broke into Mexico. And you look at what's happening in Guatemala, just to mention Guatemala, along with El Salvador and Honduras. It's disgraceful that those countries aren't able to stop this, because they should be able to stop it before it starts. And the United States pays them a fortune. And we're looking at not doing that anymore, because why should we be doing that when they do nothing for us? You know. Jeff, go ahead.
Mr. President, how is this plan going to be legal, considering current law?
Oh, this is totally legal. No, this is legal. We're stopping people at the border. This is an invasion, and nobody's even questioning that.
In terms of your plans to change asylum, are you going to do this via executive
No, you
order?
don't have to. You don't have to release. You can hold. The problem is, to hold people, you need massive facilities. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Another country says, sorry, you can't come in. With us, we take their name, take their phone number, take their everything, and say, good luck. Only because we don't have the facilities to hold people. But we're building the facilities now. We're building massive numbers of tents, and we will hold them in tents. You don't have to release them. They released them only because they didn't have the facilities to hold them. We will be doing an executive order sometime next week, yes.
Will executive orders with ending cash and release and asylum?
It's going to end. It's going to be talking about everything. It'll be quite comprehensive. Many of the things we've talked about today.
Mr. President, so you're, so just to clarify, you are speaking of, in the tents, these family units that would
Well,
arrive
we have other
of the
facilities
children.
also. But what's happened is we are holding so many facilities, so many people, that our facilities are being overrun. They're being overrun. And we are putting up temporary facilities. Eventually people won't be coming here anymore when they realize they can't get through.
So they will hold the children in those tents with their
We're
parents.
holding the family and the children together. Remember this, President Obama separated children from families. And all I did was take the same law, and then I softened the law. But by softening the law, many people come up that would not have come up if there was separation.
When you say that you want, what do you say to the critics who think this is a political thing for the midterm?
There's nothing political about a caravan of thousands of people and now others forming, pouring up into our country. We have no idea who they are. All we know is they're pretty tough people when they can blast through the Mexican military and Mexican police. They're pretty tough people. Even Mexico said, wow, these are tough people. I don't want them in our country. And women don't want them in our country. Women want security. Men don't want them in our country, but the women do not want them. Women want security. You look at what the women are looking for. They want to have security. They don't want to have these people in our country. And they're not going to be in our country. It's a very big thing. Yes.
When you talk about finalizing a plan to end asylum, is this a plan that will be included in that executive
No, people
order?
are going to have a chance to go for asylum. But if you look at the records, not very many people are allowed to stay once they go to court. But what happens is they were using asylum. First of all, they were told what to say by lawyers and others. Read this statement. You read the statement, and now you're seeking asylum. The whole thing is ridiculous. And we won't put up with it.
President Trump, U.S. law and international law says that people who have valid claims have a right to seek asylum. So why would be?
Well, they're going to go to court. They're going to go to court, as crazy as it sounds. They're going to go, excuse me, ready? They're going to go to court. And a judge is going to determine. But usually when they go to court, they're deported. It just seems that most of the people are deported once they go. The problem is they never end up going to court because when they come in, they're told to come back in a year for a court case, and they disappear into the United States, never to be seen again.
But the current laws
But we're going
doesn't
to be,
say about holding
and they're
people
given
in tents.
deportation notices. We will be deporting those people.
The objective behind this alert? Is it a bad thing?
Who's this?
And the question remains, what is the objective behind this alert? Is it? And the question
Okay.
remains,
Okay, we can stop.
what is the objective
Stop.
behind this alert? Is
Stop.
it a bad thing? Is it a
Okay,
good thing?
just stop
well,
it,
here's
but
my 2 cents on
get
the
ready to
matter.
start it again
First
there.
of all, I want to say
Okay.
that
This is
if there
just
is
the
some kind
speech of
of
madman.
national alert, maybe some kind of natural disaster
I mean,
or
it doesn't
man-made
make any
disaster
sense
for
like
that matter.
why are you gonna like the army is gonna shoot women and children because they throw you a rock?
See, I didn't hear this. I heard it through NPR, and they didn't cover it for several days after he said this. Most of the U.S. media, CNN and MSNBC, didn't cover that statement. Fox covered that statement. Everyone else blipped it because they thought that is so irresponsible to say that if rocks are thrown, then it'll be considered a firearm, strongly implying that that means that the army will shoot at people who might be throwing rocks or maybe spitballs or paper airplanes or something.
But I mean, like, you think that the army is really going to do something like that? I don't think so.
He's the constitutional head army guy. He's the
Well,
commander
yeah,
of the
but
army.
probably the soldiers out there and says, the old man is just crazy, man.
Well, I will say-
I'm not going to shoot a woman
I
or a
will say
child
this, at the moment
because
that-
somebody throw me a rock.
At the
Come on.
moment, off of the top of his head, just kind of operating off of an attitude. Trump has an attitude that helps him win power.
Well,
So I'm just,
he is somebody who likes to bark, you know.
Right, he likes to bark, and he says, I like to bark. I didn't mean that they were going to shoot. Then you say,
Yeah.
well, why did you say that? Oh, it's an attitude. It's part of a deeper truth. You know, but it's very dangerous, and this, I don't really think that this is a guy who, if it came down to his power or not, would question whether or not, maybe a few people being killed by, gunfire might be for the best interest of the country, because it would be the best interest
like
of Trump.
a big scandal, Mark. Big scandal, like right now, like a Mexican. You know what? The statements of some of the people that's in the caravan. They say Mexicans are sharing their beans and tortillas with us. You know, I mean, meaning that.
They're sharing. They're sharing.
Poor people is like feeding these immigrants. You know, offering water. The government has some hospitals. Improvise some kind of medical attention for them. Many people they are moving because some people says like, oh, I have this big truck, semi. You can come and I can give you a ride for several miles, and that's how they're moving. They have children, like little babies, and some of them are sick because, walking under this heat, like 100 degrees, 90 degrees, 100% humidity in the southern Mexico. It's unbelievable. And I would like to add this is a situation created by the U.S. government. If you remember, in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan, a Republican president, sent Green Berets and other militaries to train death squads to kill people in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala. They send millions of dollars in weapons and training for these death squads and armies that.
Well,
So
there were actual U.S. military elements actually involved in combat as well. There were battles fought. Thousands of people were even killed by American gunships.
Bombs, no?
Well, a kind of cannon flying big propeller plane. I forget what they called it, but it had a computer on board, and it had sophisticated ground.
Missiles, no?
It had heat signature detection stuff that aimed the cannon and the machine guns, and thousands of people. So you had American advisors who had suitcases, and the suitcase was a way to communicate with the American Air Forces. And the American Air Forces would then come and say, "Oh, our guys are surrounded," our advisors, and then they would direct the strike that then would kill. In one time, there were 1,500 rebel forces that were surrounding them, or actually they may have been Nicaraguan government forces, and then they were killed. So things like that did happen. So-called Latino assets of the United States were involved.
So this is what happened. They destroyed the social fabric of Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, And now there is poverty. They have an oligarchy that takes all the money, all the resources.
The U.S. was supporting an oligarchy that was even genocidal because it wanted to acquire.
They are supporting.
It wanted to acquire Indian land, Native American
Mayans.
traditional land held communally by Mayans, which I guess made them communists supposedly, and so this was a justification. And
In Honduras is different. It's more the population is a little bit different. They have more African descendants, African American descendants in Honduras. A lot of them, and also but this is terrible because there were U.S. bases in Honduras during the 80s. I don't know if they are still there. Maybe they are still there. But this crisis was created by the U.S. government.
so, is it true what Trump said that he softened Obama's policy, and it was actually Obama's policy to separate the families at the border? You say that wasn't true.
No, this is there's been separation, but not to this level. No, there is no. Obama never put children in cages.
Well, I think
That's a lie from Trump, who lies all the time.
Trump was trying, and Sessions were trying to be brutal at the border in order
They
to
are.
dissuade immigration.
They are being brutal, but I mean the crisis is just this humanitarian crisis has just exploded on their faces. They create the conditions. The government of the United States and the army, they destroy the social fabric of those countries. Now we have extreme poverty. They got guns there. If you don't leave with your children, they recruit your children, or they kill your children, or they do all kinds of horrible things to your family. So what is a Honduran father or mother says? Well, I leave. I don't care. I don't want to die here. I'd rather to die on my way to United States than to die here without no hope in Honduras.
Well, Trump
So
is.
this is. I mean, Trump doesn't even understand this. Like, he's so ignorant that he thinks, oh, they're coming here and
Well-
they're gonna invade my country. But he doesn't even understand that in the 80s, they create these social conditions.
I think that what's really important about what's going on and what Trump is saying is that this is how he became president. This is how he gains power. He divides the country through this kind of talk, and by building this up into an invasion and saying that these Central Americans are going to start raping American women, and American women need protection. Women need security from this. So
Which
the
is a lie, Mark. How many people? Like 7,000 people are coming from Honduras, right? Well, a lot of people in Guatemala went back. The Guatemalan army sent these trucks and says, whoever wants to go back to Honduras, there is so many trucks available. Many of these people went back, like a few hundred people, like 500, 400 people went back. Then they crossed the border with Mexico, and some people in the army, the Mexican army did the same. The Mexican government says, there are trucks available, buses available for people who wants to go back. So another few hundred left. I don't know how many, 200, 300. So you see, like, it was 7,000. Now there are like less than 5,000 people. So along the way, little by little, people is like say, forget about this. This is insane.
Another thing that Trump said is that there's another caravan of even more people, 7,000 people is forming, and they're even more dangerous than the first caravan. And there's another one after that, he said. So is that true? Is this the way?
I haven't seen any real reports about this. There are journalists following the caravan. There is people there, like Mexican journalists and Mexicans. I mean, from other countries, from the U.S. and all over the world, following this caravan. And it's not such thing, man. These are families with little children who just want to come to the United States because they want to be safe.
Well, what is
They see
the
see
caravan is a way to travel safely, without
and it's a way of traveling safe.
Coyotes exploiting the movement.
And look at all the danger they are exposed. Like there are reports that some people is missing already. Some people got in trucks and they don't know where they are. So they know the danger. So when the Mexican government says, well, here are some buses and you can go back, many people says, forget about this, I don't have to do this. I'd rather go back to Honduras or wherever I came from than to endure this distress and horrible conditions, like walking under the sun, like, the temperatures in Mexico are like 90 degrees, 100 degrees, walking without water, without food. How much can you walk in one day? And where are you going to stay? You had to wash your clothes. You had to go to the bathroom. You had to eat. You had to drink water. I mean, all these, Trump doesn't see all these horrible conditions these people is enduring to be here in the United States and enjoy the American way of life. That's the truth. No? He doesn't say this, and he would never understand this.
I don't think understanding it is important to him. I really think that the only thing that's important is that he maintains power and increases his power. And this helps him to do that because he creates an emergency. He even builds it up to a military emergency. He even calls it an invasion, and that women are in danger in the United States. And I mean, and he continues to generate the whole
well, I would tell to the American public, just think a little bit up. You know how many hours is driving like 80 miles per hour from the Laredo border to the Mexico City? Like, you know how many hours is driving?
36 hours, maybe?
18 hours.
Oh, well, not as much.
Driving
80 miles per hour, okay.
80 miles per hour or faster, maybe 90 miles per hour. That's the distance that you had to cover from Mexico City to the border, the closest border that is Laredo.
And they're walking.
And they are walking. Like just to approach Mexico City, you practically had to climb this mountain, like going up, and then down, and like this is for 50 miles or more miles, just to get to Mexico City, and then keep. I mean, it's insane. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I don't really know how they're gonna do this.
We have another rolling. Actually, we can let this other one start, and there's a couple of different roll-ins, but we'll just let it start. I'll tell you to stop. We might even chop it into two pieces. This is Lisa Haven, and she's a internet person. She's kind of far right-wing. She's a big Trump supporter.
Why are you putting this, Mark?
She talks about, because this is my show, she talks about how she loves Trump. And she has videos lately saying that we're heading into a civil war. And she says it's the Democrats who are preparing for civil war. And then other times she says, we've got to be ready to, fight tooth and nail, even violently with the Democrats. And she's not the... But
she's a freak, no?
No, she's not the only one. This is the thing. There's lots of this now. And there's even a group of, they say that they're former intelligence people in the US government who are pro-Trump and anti-deep state, and they are saying that Trump told them that Trump is going to declare martial law, and he's going. And
That's insane, Mark.
I don't
That's
think.
insane.
Listen, Trump is willing to do anything, and the Constitution of the United States does not matter to Trump, and he is so warping the country that this
Well,
is.
the Democrats have the House now, so
No,
it's
well-
not that easy to take a
Well,
decision.
the
like
Democrats
that.
can investigate, but you saw during the Kavanaugh hearings.
I mean,
that-
he's panicking. He just fired Sessions.
yes.
I mean, he has something more in his mind, the caravan, the Mexican
Well,
caravan. Like,
you have-
Mueller is gonna make soon a statement, and he is like panicking, man.
You have to remember how important it was for them to get Kavanaugh in there. Kavanaugh clearly is a liar. So we have a liar who doesn't really care that he lies, and it's obvious that he lies, because all over the main media, you had people going on CNN and MSNBC who were saying, I was his roommate for a year, and he's a liar. He's a total liar. There's total lies that he was saying. And even though that was the case, and
He's
even,
a drunk.
Even though, but see, the important thing is that they wanted him in despite how embarrassing it was, and despite the fact that he was very transparently a liar. So what does that mean? They need him in order to be their ace in the hole when it comes to martial law, when it comes to Trump doing all these insane things that a lot of these people say he's about to do. I was going to talk about this QAnon group. This QAnon group says that Trump told them that there's 45,000 arrests pending, that Trump already signed a National Security Act preparing.
Sign what?
He signed a preparatory document giving himself the power to declare martial law and to make 45,000.
Who's saying this, Mark?
I'm saying, let me say,
Okay.
a group called QAnon. And they say that their former and current.
Mark, this is insane.
You have to let me finish.
Okay, all right.
They say that they are former and current employees of the US government and that Trump leaked them this information. At a Trump rally, they showed up with signs saying, QAnon, we're QAnon. And Trump said, I love
QAnon.
those guys, QAnon, I love those guys. So it's not entirely insane, but it could be just a ploy by Trump. But I want you to see Lisa Haven and realize that she's not alone. The internet is full of this stuff. So let's go. Let's look at crazy Lisa Haven and realize that there's lots of
She's
them.
insane.
nail in order to win. And the sad news is they're making headway with their Trump card, and it's terrifying because this Trump card will turn the America you and I know and love inside out. And I do believe that's the actual agenda from the Democratic Party. So what is the Trump card? Well, it's a bogus, fake race war being pushed by the Democratic left. They have literally put every Republican personnel, every single Trump supporter, they are now labeling as a xenophobic, bigot, racist. If you simply subscribe to that narrative, or a conservative, or a Christian, or even part of the Republican Party and love Trump, you therefore are a racist enemy. And they literally believe it. They have literally put us in the field and the same label as Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan members. And they've managed to convince all their people who subscribe to the Democratic Party, not all, but a lot of those on the left that are more brainwashable, to actually believe that narrative. The only reason you would do that is if you want to start riots, is if you want to start a civil war. And I believe the Trump card by the Democratic Party is to start that civil war so they can make it into office. We have literally become, just for being a political view, the scum of the earth in the eyes of the Democrats. Think about it this way. The only way the Democratic Party could justify or get their followers, those who are following their lead, to justify attacks against the other side, physically I'm talking about, is to tell their followers that Republicans and conservatives are the scum of the earth and they're racist. And therefore, now their followers feel justified on the attacks against the other side because they've been told by their leaders that those people are like Nazis and are going to start another mass murder killing of people. and their followers are literally believing it, and they're justifying violence against Trump supporters. It's sickening. Let me take you back to a few quotes from some of these leaders so you can hear it straight from their mouths and not mine. Let's go back to Maxine Waters. Take a listen.
And so let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
There are those who say, well, why didn't we get rid of him? Then we got that vice president, and he will be worse. I said, knock off the first one, and then go after the second one.
Tell me, what did she mean? Knock off. That means kill, attack, assassinate the president and the vice president. Not only that, but she even encouraged her own followers to incite violence by not allowing Trump supporters and Trump cabinet members into their restaurants. And by the way, as many of you know who watch my channel, that's exactly what they did, because they're following like minions, every breadcrumb being given. And the Democratic Party leaders within are attempting to start that civil war as their trump card. But it's not just her. Take a listen to one of Obama's officials and what he has to say. Here's Eric Holder.
Michelle says that, you know, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them. That's what this new Democratic Party is about.
That's a new one. When they go low, he says, kick them. Kick them. That's violence. That's encouraging people to be violent with the other side. I have never heard this level of rhetoric. And he says that is what the new Democratic Party is about. Why? Because the Democratic Party is painting the other side, Trump supporters and Republicans, as racist, a fake and false claim. Kick them, he says. What is Hillary Clinton, former presidential candidate ×2, and who may run again or is running again, I'm not quite sure. Take a listen to what she says.
Cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and/or the Senate, that's when civility can start again.
Don't be civil with Trump supporters. Civil as in gracious, courteous, and kind. Don't be that to those who are Republicans, to those on the other side. Maybe I've got my definition of civil wrong. Let's go to the dictionary here. I'm going to toss that up. This is Webster's Dictionary. Relating to citizens, to act courteous, polite, and mannerly. Some of the synonyms are courteous, gracious, well-bred, mannerly, and polite. So don't be any of those things. In other words, be the opposite of that, or your antonyms of that, right? That would mean be discourteous, because that's an antonym. Be ill-bred, ill-mannered, rude, impolite, not courteous. What are you calling for here? What are you saying, Hillary Clinton? All of them are saying it. All of them. Multiple of them. Not all. And let me clarify that. Some are saying that. But many are pushing for tensions in America. Here we are on election year. November, midterm elections. And they have upped their rhetoric ×100. They have played their trump card. They have literally labeled the opponents as racist bigots. And many of their followers are believing them. And it's just not true. Anyhow, please share this information far and wide, and do not give in to the rhetoric.
In fact, that's it. That is it. And that.
Mark, I'm not afraid of these people. I think they are just cowards. Like they say all these things to scare people, but that's it.
Well, they have me scared because there's a lot of them on the internet, and it's a lot of what Republicans, as strange as it sounds to you or I, the Republicans are talking about. And I think
Jim Chase is
they
watching
have
that.
lost their mind. And Trump is like their archetype. He's their bizarre, half-brained god who's gaining power by freaking them out. And this woman goes on, other people do too, saying civil war is coming. And we got the guns, but they got the numbers, that kind of thing. And I think it needs to be paid attention to. And you need to be aware that Trump can lie. He can say anything. If Trump loses an election, he can say, "Oh, fake news," and he has
Mark,
the Republicans willing to go along with it.
I trust the authorities, man. I mean, we have police, we have the FBI, we have the CIA. I mean, like police really. Not everyone is corrupt, no. Not everyone is a racist.
Well,
in the police department.
No, not
so
everyone. of course.
they will protect you. They will, if somebody commits a crime, they will arrest this person and they put them in jail. That's what I trust. I trust in the American institutions. I don't believe that the Attorney General now is a Democrat is going to allow.
He's not a Democrat.
Yeah,
he's not going to be a Democrat.
The state Democrat.
Of Michigan.
Michigan. I don't think she's going to allow this kind of violence against people. I mean, I'm pretty sure that. Well, I think the U.S. has solid institutions.
I would have said the U.S. has very solid institutions, and I would not have worried about anything that I'm saying a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and even a year ago, I thought, I think we'll survive this Trump thing. But Trump is willing to push the envelope because he's not very attached to the constitutional state of the United States. He doesn't really have that concept. He has a concept of his own personality and his own power.
We saw yesterday going and vote because they want to change. They don't like this president. Most of the American people don't like Trump. There are freaks like you just showed they are crazy, but most of the people they're normal. They don't like violence. They don't want to attack anybody.
Well, I would say that most Republicans have ceased to be normal by our standards of what normal would be.
Yeah.
Look at it this way. When Adolf Hitler, just before he acquired ultimate power, a third of the people had gone totally unnormal, and they were killing Jews in the streets, and they were totally with Hitler.
There were no social media, Mark, those days.
Well, look, social media.
I mean, we have social media like right now. If somebody is doing something like in a demonstration or something public.
But
people have phones. They can record.
You have to realize that Lisa Haven is social media also. The Republicans are doing social media also. And all of this crazy Trump support is emerging out of social media.
It's different to have these cuckoo pops in the social media, to have somebody like a journalist, a professional journalist with a phone or a camera on the streets filming some kind of atrocity that these people commit. That's different. Like yesterday I saw a video of some shootings in Florida. I mean, like I saw this show and somehow they showed this video. I mean, it's shocking, what these crazy cuckoo puffs can do, like this violence, these shootings.
Yes.
Innocent. That's shocking to people, and that changed your mind. I mean, I think watching these videos is motivating people about these shootings to vote and change this government.
It may be that watching these videos.
We saw yesterday, Mike. The Democrats took the House of Representatives. That's unbelievable to me. You know, I wouldn't think that that was possible.
Well,
But
we still have an
it was.
extremely dangerous political party and an extremely dangerous political office holder, among other office holders, all very dangerous, who are actually in the center of political power right now in the United States. And I'm just saying, don't take that lightly. Don't think that the worst can't happen, and be very active politically in trying to stop this thing. I agree with Waters. I agree.
Agree with what?
With Maxine Waters. I agree with Eric Holder. You know, you've got to, the Democrats and others who are not these crazy Republican Trumpites have got to make this a focus of their attention and activity, that we could lose our constitutional state. We could end up with these people giving us martial law, civil war, mass arrests, mass incarcerations. It's possible.
You can change. You can change the politics of this country, Mark. I mean, like.
Oh, I think it can be, but that's what we try to do.
Like,
I'm trying to sound an alarm, and
you know,
don't just celebrate.
Defeating Shuri, it was amazing to me. I mean, all these new faces in the government, in the Michigan government, that's unbelievable to me.
Well,
you know, I was afraid of Shuri winning the governorship, and he lost.
That's good. It is a good thing. So it's not all.
Winnie Brink won.
It's not all going their way, but
I mean, things are changing, you know. And
that's good.
Fast,
I mean, that's good.
Fast,
But
right?
don't think that you know, now it's easy sailing, because the most dangerous people imaginable are in power, and they're not unwilling to suppress votes. They're not unwilling to generate racial hatred in order to maintain power. But I guess I've said my thing. I'll let you talk a little more about what you. So you insist that it's hopeful. What do you think that we should be doing, if anything, that we're not doing, or should we just celebrate and relax?
Well, we need more candidates, more like Winnie Brinks, like the new Gretchen, the new
Whitmer. Gretchen Whitmer. Yeah.
Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, they really are extraordinary people. Like winning this election in these times so dangerous, so polarized by these races and by these attacks against immigrants and minorities and people.
Keep talking though.
So I think we need more people like that. People who inspire other people, and you and me working for democracy. Let's encourage people to vote. Let's keep them out from power. Let's say to the racists goodbye. We don't want you here. Go back to your KKK.
Trump's dad.
meetings, you know?
Trump's dad was a KKK guy. Did you know that?
So that's my bet. That's what I want to work for. Let's organize people. Let's go to the voting places and vote and keep them out.
I agree. I don't want to discourage people. I just want people to not think that we're out of the woods, so to speak, and that it is dangerous. But yeah, people should be encouraged, but don't just think, oh, I voted, now things are going to go great. It's not necessarily true. But yeah, work, but don't despair.
Bueno, Marco, aquí vamos a hacer un breve resumen de lo que hablamos esta noche. Hablamos de...
No, we're still on. I was waiting for your
Oh, Mark Zapotowski. Estaba yo hablando de